So this is going to be another movie review. We've got sound this time. Karate Man was complaining.
Your speakers plugged in?
I unplugged my speakers. You can hear me now. And I can see the dots going, more or less, sort of. This one's called Ursus in the Valley of the Lions. 1961. I'm giving this 3 out of 5 stars. You can watch it for free on Cult Cinema Classics. The movie poster looks awesome, but this scene never happened in the movie. It's a case of the movie poster looking better than the movie itself. Ursus in the Valley of the Lions. Italian, Ursus nella Valle dei Leoni, also known as Valley of the Lions, is a 1962 Italian sword and sandal film directed by Carlo Ludovico Bragaglia. Although it was the 4th film in the Italian Ursus series, it was the first to provide Ursus with an origin story explaining how he was raised by a lioness. You got Tarzan theme in an Ursus movie. Ed Fury once again appears as Ursus, and Alberto Lupi plays the villainous Ajax. When the film was distributed in the U.S., the title was shortened to simply Valley of the Lions. The film was also distributed as Son of Atlas in the new Valley of the Lions. The evil dictator Ajax sends his armies to attack a neighboring kingdom. And during the battle, the besieged king Honorius orders one of his subjects to take his son Ursus to a place of safety outside of the city. After first putting a royal medallion around the baby's neck, Ajax kills the king and he usurps his throne, but the infant prince is smuggled out of the city to safety, much like Moses the lawgiver. Distributed by Medallion, release date April 1962, running time 94 minutes, decent running time, country Italy, and language Italian. So we've got an Italian sword and sandal going here. Standard run of the mill, nothing spectacular, but then again, it does have its moments, such as the hyena pit and the female white slavery. How many times am I going to watch a female white slavery movie? Enough already. R. Oh, the rated R one was explicit. This one was just kind of a immodest dress, I guess you could say. Something that my son doesn't approve of. Later, through a series of incidents, the baby Ursus winds up being abandoned alone in a hidden valley in the wilderness, where he is adopted and raised by a pride of lions who mistake him from one of their cubs. In a storyline similar to Tarzan of the Apes, Ursus grows to manhood with the lions as his family. One day, a caravan of white slave girls heading to market breaks down near Ursus's cave, and after repairing their wagon, Ursus takes Ania, one of the slave girls, as his prize woman as his payment for pulling the wagon single-handedly out of the ditch and repairing it. His payment is the slave girl, Ania. During an eventful courtship, Ursus explains being raised by lions. He was educated by merchants passing through the valley, and that's how he learned Italian. Through these interactions, however, Ursus learned of the treacherous side of humankind, and he chose to remain in the wilderness. He offers a place in his home among the lions to Ania, who accepts, unsurprisingly. A mutual attraction evolves into a romance. So they're kind of playing cat and mouse with the skinny dipping. And then when she's finally in her dress, he kisses her. And she's totally in love with him. But she does betray him later on. The evil king Ajax is still alive, and Ajax is sitting on Ursus's father's throne at this point. And when Ajax hears that Ursus is still alive, he fears that Ursus will one day come seeking revenge. And he orders his soldiers to journey to the Valley of the Lions and arrest him. So this is kind of like a preemptive attack. The soldiers kill all but one of the lions with poisoned meat, and when Ursus refuses to surrender, Ajax's men kidnap the slave girl Ania, and they use her as a hostage bait to force Ursus to give up. Simba, the last surviving lion of the pride, follows the chained Ursus to Ajax City, trying to remain close to Ursus in the event that an opportunity to help him arises. So one of the slave girls who became Ajax's girlfriend, I guess, she ends up rescuing Ursus, helping him to escape. But then he gets buried in a cave full of rubble, and the lion comes to move the rocks so he can get out and get his revenge, fighting hyenas and elephants. At the climax of the film, Ajax orders that a group of innocent townspeople be dragged into a raging pyre by a group of elephants to which they are chained. Ursus manages to free himself from the king's dungeon. Ursus kills Ajax's henchman Lothar by throwing him into a kennel of ferocious, slavering hyenas. This was the highlight of the movie right here. Ursus then makes his way to the grand arena. Ursus physically holds back the elephants. This guy can lift anything, saving the condemned civilians from a fiery death. When the people realize Ursus is their rightful ruler, they revolt against their evil king. Ajax tries to sneak out of the arena, but he is attacked and mauled to death by Simba the lion, who spent the last half of the picture waiting patiently to avenge the deaths of his fellow lions. Wow, that's a smart lion. He knows how to avenge death of his brethren. Valley of the Lions, original title, Ursus nella Valle del Luni, 1961, 1 hour, 34 minutes. It gets a so-so rating of 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb. I'm rating it a little bit higher. It gets 233 ratings, so somewhat obscure. The evil dictator Ajax sends his armies to attack a neighboring kingdom. And during the battle, the besieged king Anarius orders one of his subjects to take his son, Ursus, to a place of safety outside the city. After first putting a royal medallion around the baby's neck, Ajax kills the king and Ajax usurps his throne, but the infant prince is smuggled out of the city. Come on, man. Should have clicked on the whole thing. Oh, well. I'll pull up my list. So Karate Man only shows up in the chat room when he can't hear me and he can only hear my lips, watch my lips moving. Then when I actually have sound, he's nowhere to be found because he's probably asleep or working or something. Who knows? I sort of post videos at random times, but I am known for doing the Friday nights. So here I am. I've got one more movie to go, Nanas, which gets a very low 1 out of 5 stars. Even my son hated that movie. But then again, my son hates all movies, except for documentaries on George Wallace. Come on. What is taking so long? Okay, well, more like this, Ursus in the Land of Fire, Ursus, The Vengeance of Ursus, and Atlas against the Cyclops. At least some prints of the US version under the title Valley of the Lions are in black and white. Ursus is quoted as saying to Ayak, "What new tortures are you preparing for me?" Did I call him Ajax earlier? I guess his name is Ayak. This is referenced in Video Man 2018. Release date 1963 in the United States. Country of origin Italy. Language Italian. Also known as, oh, here we go. The plot. As I was saying, Ayak kills the king, and Ayak usurps the king's throne, but the infant prince is smuggled out of the city to safety. That's the plot by Ulf Kjellgur on IMDb. Release date 1960, U.S. Country of origin Italy. Language Italian, also known as Ursus in Tal Dern Lowen, part of my German. Filming locations Insur de Pasilsis Studios, Rome, Lazio, Italy. Production companies Cine Italian Film, Les Films Marbouf, Rewind Film, Routine, runtime, 1 hour 34 minutes, perfect runtime, sound mix mono, and aspect ratio 2.35 to 1. Here's a review on IMDb. I've got to get this movie poster. Ursus in the Valley of the Lions by Carlo Ludovico Brigaligia, 1961, 2.5 stars. This is a review from Bonwell, 1976. Gives it a 5 out of 10. I'm rating it a little bit higher. So here's a less flattering review from Bonwell, 1976. Though featuring many an unlikely plot point, starting off with Ursus as a baby, even if it was the third of his adventures to be released. I thought it was the fourth. Anyways, I'll go down my list while I'm waiting for IMDb to load. First on my list is Padre Pio Between Heaven and Earth, 2000. Second on my list is Ministry of Fear, 1944. And then Angel on My Shoulder, finally, 1946. So those are the next three on my list. I'm not going to repeat it again when I do my Nana's review. Here we go. Where were we? This emerges as a slightly above average peplum in which the muscular hero is once again played by the affable Ed Fury. He is the heir to some throne, obviously coveted by the villain of the piece, Albert Lupo, and thus the target of assassination, amazingly. He not only survives this, but he's also brought up Tarzan-like by a bunch of lions, hence the title. Amusingly, though, he seems to have effortlessly mastered the faculty of speech regardless. Ursus is blissfully ignorant of etiquette since he sees nothing wrong in taking a skinny dip into the stream while protesting an obviously annoyed heroine, a girl intended for a slave market, whom he helps, is bathing. Why would you jump in a girl's bathtub? Ursus, even if you were raised by lions. Special mention then is given in the credits to the animal wrangler involved, Orlando Arfe, presumably a relative of the film's villainous Moria Orfe, who was actually a staple of such fare, as was the case with the film Ursus. She has to contend with another girl over the love of a man, even if the object of her affection here is Lupo. Surprisingly, the film maintains a fairly sober tone throughout, with little concessions to the genre's usual pitfalls. There is no insufferable comic relief, for instance, but we still get the villain's unconvincing demise at the hands of Simba, Ursus's favorite lioness, Elsewhere, it also bonds with the heroine's snowy white mutt and some unintentionally hilarious action scenes. Gerard Herder, Lupo's henchman, is hit squarely on the head with a stone block the hero has dislodged from his prison cell. Lives at least long enough to be devoured by a creepy pack of hungry hyenas, which is the highlight of the movie. A soldier is thrown into a fire during a scuffle. He rises up blazing, trips and falls flat on his face. A number of soldiers are commissioned to demolish a cave, the meeting place of rebels, only to end up buried within it themselves, etc. I wondered about that. They blew up the cave, but they trapped some of their henchmen inside. In the end, the film provides standard excitements, but proves mildly entertaining nevertheless, if hardly essential. Again, like Ursus, we find some notable names among the credits, not just director Bragaglia, but composer Riz Ortoliani and assistant director Ruggero Diodato. All right. Maverick 7-7 defender. The Romans killed off all of North African lions, North Barbary lions, Atlas lions. Maverick 7-7 defender is in the chat room. Karate Man went to sleep. Cool. So, not a great sword and sandals film from Italy, but gets an honorable mention. It is somewhat obscure, and it's free on Cult Cinema Classics if you want to check it out. But I'm not going to say highly recommend it or check it out. I'll leave that up to you. Laters.